Hey guys, welcome to our channel. So, yesterday I had did a video uh, pointing out that John Titor, the time traveler's name, and I do that in quotation marks, by the way, for a reason, that his name had changed from two T's to one T in my reality, and a few others as well, apparently. And while it was fresh in my mind, I wanted to touch on some of these things dealing with John Titor. And I wanted to start off, first of all, by explaining what I mean when I say he wasn't really time traveling. All right. Now, personally, I've read his story, I've checked out his machine. He uses two mini black holes, and I would use three personally, but apparently they got away with two. And I would think three would be a better situation personally. But they used two, so that's the first difference uh, with what we would do, me and the people I know who know these things. Now, timeline, guys. We all remember from school what a timeline is. And if I were to insert some dates and events here, like you were born here and dub de dub de dub all the way through, these would be a timeline. And what most people would infer as time traveling would be to go, here you are at the present, then you would come to some point back here, and then you'd be back in time. Well, that's not how it works. You can't go back in time because the past, present, and future happens at the same time quantumly, so that makes this impossible or highly improbable, almost impossible. What you got going on here, first of all, before we even get started, and I got this upside down, so where these here then say they want to triangulate a position to where they are now, and they said 1975. Now, when I researched it before, it was 1976 that they were trying to go back to. Okay, now it's 1975, so that's a little different. So he would go from here where it may be 2036. Then he would go someplace close where it would be, I think he stopped at 2000 first, and then, so let's say he'd go here and now it's 2000. Well, you left here, you left this outcome point and you went to this outcome point, which is different. You can't change what happened here. And changing what happens here, I mean, you could affect what happens here, but it hasn't happened yet in theory. It happens at the same time, I get that, but by our perception, it hasn't happened yet if he goes here. So he could, say stop a nuclear war. I mean, assuming that were possible. We'll get to that in a minute. And then he wanted to go to 1976. I'm sorry, 1975 now it is. So then he would, and I'm going with one probability wave here. I mean, it's going to be close. So then say 1976 is here, so, or 5, excuse me. So then he would go from 2000 and, oh, here's one, bip, 1975. And again, once you left this point, go to this point, you couldn't affect anything that happened here. You couldn't change anything that happened here. And you didn't change anything that happened here. Now, they say it's impossible to get, once you leave this, you would never get back to this. You just come someplace close in the same year when you go back. I don't know if that's true. The guy I know who's in quantum physics tells me once you go between two, it would be very easy to go between those two anytime you wanted then, because you opened the portal, so, or you opened a way to do that. So depends on what you want to think there. I would think it would be very easy to get back and forth, and then you're dealing with infinity, so who knows. So the next thing I wanted to do, now that we cleared up time travel, and I know they can do that, so we want to go through a couple of his predictions, and he predicted a devastating nuclear war in 2015, but that didn't exactly happen yet. But then again, now that's another thing. He had said that with the timeline that he left and the timelines that he was going into, what he really means is probable outcome points. He expected to be 1 to 2% different than the one he left. Of course, different outcome points, different probabilities, different outcomes, 1 to 2%. It's about right. Well, that's probably about what we're dealing with now. So, and then you're dealing with once they travel there, does energy bleed? That's a good question. I'm not sure. Would energy bleed? And you'd get some information mixed up between your two realities just from somebody doing that alone on top of our shifting. I plan on doing a video that's going to deal with the reasons that we shift and some of the reasons that we know of. But that's another time. So right now, deception leading to the Iraq War was another thing he had predicted, which clearly happened. He said the 2008 Olympics got canceled. They didn't, but they came close, as we recall. There were some things going on there. The hidden functions of the IBM computer that he was after to begin with, which was why he was going to 1976, but now 1975. And it was a quantum computer. I'm going to provide a link with an interview, and he was going after a quantum computer that they apparently built back in the 70s that nobody knew was a quantum computer. And he needed that. So that's what they were doing. And of course, an infinite number of himself would have been doing it. And of course, there'd have been another infinite number of himself that probably chose a completely different life and probably wasn't doing that at all, but they don't include that. But that's probably what's going on there. All right. He kind of predicted the mad cow disease, and he kind of predicted the breakthroughs in quantum physics. He kind of predicted the overheating space shuttle. He was probably dealing with the Columbia, and predictions between relationships between Russia and China, which is important, but it's more politics. Here's a good one for you. He says, quote, they will be the ones arresting and holding people without due process, which, by the way, guys, is going on right now. Walmart, remember, our friendly local neighborhood FEMA camp with all the tunnels and things going on with that. And then he nicely wraps up that he says his many worlds theory, which basically is like my theory and my fiance's theory going on over here. And he says something interesting. He says, as you are probably aware, the big equation does not need the final solution in order to take advantage of the smaller parts that do work in the real world. In other words, you don't have to calculate the entire infinite probability wave in order to take advantage of a number of realities that you can calculate around you. Even though you can't calculate the whole picture, you can calculate a certain section of it, and that's all you need in order to go places and do things. So that's basically what he's saying there, and that's basically what I've been saying. So that's an interesting thing. And he goes on to talk about what makes time travel possible, and public was informed in 2034. Well, guys, like I just said, it's not time travel. It's something else. It's your traveling between outcome points, between possible probable outcome points. You're traveling between realities, and some of them are behind, some of them are ahead. With a quantum computer, you could predict where you were going and go there. All right, time travel. That's what they're calling it. And that's it for that. I've ran this video long, but I wanted to point those things out. I'm sure I seen somebody else did a video on John Titor and his connection to the Mandela effect, so I'm hoping I covered some points that the other didn't. I didn't watch it. I didn't want to watch it to influence my video. I only found one person doing it, so there's a chance some people didn't see their video. So I hope this video is interesting to people. And I'm going to post a couple links about these things. So that's it, guys. It's not really even a thumbs video. That's my take on John Titor and his time travel and some of his predictions and how I feel they wrap into the Mandela effect. Because again, I think there's a chance that if you portal between these realities may bleed into each other, and that would cause part of the shifts, possibly why they sped up at some point. And so that's it for now, guys. Thanks for all your thumbs up, thumbs down, comments, and subscriptions. And I won't take I won't take up any more of your time on this one, guys. And for now, you guys have a great rest of your night.